This is Matador News, and these are today's headlines. The death toll for the California fires reaches an all-time high. Mexican drug dealer El Chapo trial begins in Brooklyn, prompting intense security. Marvel Comics superhero Stan Lee dies at 95, leaving a long legacy.
Hello, and welcome to Matador News. I'm Cindy Gamino.
And I'm Christina Rodriguez. Nearly 2 years after his arrest, Joaquin Guzman Loera, better known as El Chapo, will begin his trial in front of an American jury. The trial is set to begin today with opening statements. The infamous drug trafficker was being held at a prison in New York under strong surveillance. U.S. Attorney Robert Capers says El Chapo will answer for a life of crime.
The allegations in the indictment make clear that over the course of decades, Guzman's destructive and murderous rise as an international narcotics trafficker is akin to that of a small cancerous tumor.
Due to his long history, prosecutors say his trial could last as long as 4 months. If convicted, he faces a minimum sentence of life in prison, as well as a forfeiture of more than $14 billion.
Tensions are building again between Israel and the Palestinians on the Gaza Strip. Israel is trading rockets and airstrikes with the Palestinian militant group. The conflict started after a poorly executed undercover mission by Israeli military on the Palestinian territory on Sunday. More than 450 rockets have since been launched from Hamas. An Israeli military officer died and 2 were injured on the Israeli side, with 7 people killed and about 25 injured following Israeli airstrikes hitting buildings in Palestine. Egyptian and UN mediators are trying to broker a ceasefire, but it's uncertain if both sides have agreed to it.
The deadliest fire in California history has now killed 42 people. 200 remain missing from the campfire that swept through Paradise last week. This morning, search and rescue teams had head out to the Sierra Nevada retirement community of hopes of locating more victims. The Paradise fire is only 30% contained and has burned through 125,000 acres. The fire has destroyed 7,600 structures. 2 people have died in the Woolsey fire in parts of Malibu, west of Los Angeles. More than 400 structures have been destroyed, and 57,000 are under threat. The Woolsey fire is 35% contained and has burned more than 96,000 acres. The Hill fire in Ventura County is 90% contained. The National Weather Service says weather conditions in Ventura counties and Los Angeles are poor.
6 days after the polls closed for the midterm elections, several races remain too close to call. In Florida, the race for governor between Democrat Andrew Gillum and Republican Representative Ron DeSantis is still undecided. Along with that is the race for a U.S. Senate seat between incumbent Democratic Senator Bill Nelson and Republican Governor Rick Scott. Both were too close to start a mandatory recount. The recount must be completed by 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon.
Changes in the Trump administration, both in the West Wing and the cabinet, may be made in the coming days. According to former and current White House officials, President Trump is looking to replace his senior administrators with those who will implement his policies with readiness. Trump reportedly told advisors he will be removing Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen. A planned trip with Nielsen to the border of South Texas was canceled by Trump, and the president has reportedly been frustrated with her performance in his key issue, immigration and border security. Officials say the announcement could come as soon as this week. Her resignation can mean the exit of Chief of Staff John Kelly, Nielsen's top advocate in the administration, and his future in the administration is also reportedly uncertain. Nick Ayers, Vice President Mike Pence's Chief of Staff, is among those rumored to be replaced, and Trump's choice to replace Attorney General Jeff Sessions is said to be unlawful by the state of Maryland. Legal action against Matthew Whitaker was filed today. The lawsuit involves the Affordable Care Act. The state of Maryland says Whitaker was unlawfully named acting attorney general and violates the Constitution.
CNN is suing Trump administration after it suspended White House reporter Jim Acosta from the White House. The suit claims revoking Acosta's White House credentials violates the First and Fifth Amendment rights of Acosta and CNN. The suit was filed this morning in U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. Last week, Akkaoui's press pass was suspended after claims were made that he behaved inappropriately at a presidential conference. CNN sent the White House a letter requesting the reinstatement of Akkaoui's pass and warning them of a possible lawsuit. CNN says it's seeking preliminary injunction immediately so Akkaou can return to the White House.
Citizens gathered in Napa this morning to mourn the 12 victims of the Thousand Oaks shooting. One of the victims was Napa native Elena Housley, niece of Sister Sister actress and the Real Talk show host Tamara Maury Housley. Friends and admirers paid their respects.
She was so smart and so hardworking, and I firmly believe she was going to change the world.
Housley's father, Eric, also appeared, offering comfort to those who needed it.
This is just senseless acts of violence because we're not there for one another.
The shooting was at a country western bar in Thousand Oaks last week.
The California State University Board of Trustees is scheduled to meet today and tomorrow in Long Beach. The 25-member board meets 6 times a year to discuss regulations and policies regarding the entire CSU system. Today's meeting will cover the approval of the 5-year capital plan and multi-year financing authorization. The board will also go over educational policies regarding student mental health services and student veterans. The Board of Trustees aims to allow communication between the trustees, chancellor, campus presidents, academic senate, California State Student Association, and the Alumni Council.
Cal States are planning on enrolling 23,000 local students in the upcoming academic school year. They are planning on asking more for their budget so that tuition wouldn't have to rise. UC and Cal States voted against the tuition hikes. They say that the legislature should set up funding for higher education. If they gain state funding, they will go toward expanding enrollment, boosting student support, and repairing aged buildings. Although they are going to accept more students into their schools, are they looking at how they are going to affect the students who are already enrolled at the institution? We asked CSUN students on their thoughts about this.
And considering that tuition is already high enough, it would just be a waste for students to have to pay for classes and still have them packed. So not guarantee that they would necessarily get the classes that they need.
When there's less class, you have more time to focus, and then it's easier for you to learn. It's really hard to learn when there's so many people in your class.
It's great that we're trying to bring more people into school to get an education and everything like that. I think that's awesome. Nonetheless, I do know that a lot of schools in the area, a lot of Cal States and UCs are very impacted as it is. So, I think we're going to be impacted no matter what. So I think bringing in more students, it's not going to help the issue, but it's not like the issue is not already there. So if more people can come in to get an education, I think that's great.
I think it's a good thing. I'm actually excited about it because that means a lot more people that aren't able to come to school because of financial issues. It'll provide for them to be able to come to school, and it'll benefit them, and their family won't have to go through the struggle to be able to provide for their child to go to school.
The trustees are meeting today in Long Beach. Now let's go to Jide Akinpelu for today's sports and news.
The Clippers beat the Warriors 121-116 in overtime yesterday. Lou Williams led the team to victory with 25 points, sealing the game with a clutch layup and 3 free throws in the final moments of the game. He scored the last 10 points to close out the quarter for his team. Kevin Durant fouled out with 3 minutes and 46 seconds left on the clock, which opened up the middle and allowed the Clippers to attack. Los Angeles now moves to 8 wins and 5 losses. The Rams got the win over the Seattle Seahawks 36-31. The Rams began their game with a moment of silence on Sunday in honor of the 12 people who were gunned down on Wednesday night in the Thousand Oaks. The team's left tackle, Andrew Whitworth, is donating his game check to the Conejo Valley Victims Fund, which was set up by the victims' families. Quarterback Jared Goff threw for 318 yards, leading to 2 touchdowns. The Rams are now sitting at 9 wins and 1 loss in the NFC West. The players of both the Los Angeles Lakers and Clippers wore shirts to honor the victims of the Thousand Oaks shooting over the weekend. The Clippers and their opponents, the Milwaukee Bucks, wore the shirts to the game on Saturday night. The shirt lists the names of the victims on the back and has the word "enough" printed on the front. The Lakers and the Atlanta Hawks followed suit, wearing their shirts to their matchup on Sunday. Now let's go to Savannah DiMarco for today's business news.
Amazon has announced its second headquarters location.
The second headquarters will split duties between New York City and Arlington, Virginia. Both of the new locations will receive a $2.5 billion investment to kick off the new locations. New hires will begin in the beginning of next year. An expected 25,000 workers will be hired at both locations. Another pop-up location will be in Nashville, overseeing customer fulfillment. Amazon will be likely to receive more than $1.5 billion in incentives from the two cities. Ford product line in China has been a bit stale and has failed to keep up with the demand in the country. For a second consecutive October, the sales of Ford cars and trucks in China fell 45%. The drop is due to a slowdown in sales across the industry. Another factor has been making credit available to buyers in China's middle class. But General Motors, Ford's biggest competition, has fared just fine in China. Oil prices and stocks fell today, extending a record-losing streak. The latest drop came after President Trump urged OPEC and Saudi Arabia to maintain their relationship to one another, which helped tops off oil prices. OPEC is pulling back because of the possible fresh round of production cuts. This follows a price collapse in the last 6 weeks. The pullback began in October, but oil demand is expected to surpass more than 100 million barrels per day next year. Now back to Jide with health news.
A new study says the U.S. has more than doubled the rate of drug overdose deaths. The Annals of Internal Medicine study also says that in the U.S. there were a record 63,000 drug overdose deaths in 2016. In an effort to combat the opioid epidemic, the researchers studied overdose deaths in 13 countries. Of the 13, America is ranked the highest in drug deaths. Researchers say creating better access to substance abuse disorder treatments would help reduce deaths. The CDC says patients with the polio-like conditions showed symptoms of viral infections before they developed their other symptoms. Researchers say viruses are a prime suspect in causing muscle weakness or paralysis. Acute flaccid myelitis has impaired victims' motor functions, the same way polio does. The new virus is paralyzing healthy children in a matter of hours. The CDC says the polio-like virus has been confirmed in 90 different patients this year. The disease has been on the rise since 2014. The FDA is cracking down on the sale of most flavored e-cigarettes. The government agency says teen vaping is an epidemic. Agency officials are restricting the sale of e-cigs in retail stores and gas stations. They also are planning to require age verification for purchases of these e-cigs, including those purchased online. Tobacco companies say they are not trying to sell products to young people, even though they name e-cig flavors like unicorn milk and rocket popsicle. E-cigs were originally created to help adults quit smoking. Now it seems they have a whole new generation addicted to nicotine. Let's go to Alan Cardoza in Newsroom B for student reactions on e-cigarettes.
Possible regulations by the FDA on e-cigarettes have created mixed opinions on whether restricting access and making purchases more difficult would be helpful or harmful to teenagers. The mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, believes teenagers are being deceived to turn them into addicts.
Their entire intention is to hook teenage kids on these products. Nicotine is addictive as tar and the other products that are in traditional tobacco, and to make them lifelong users of their product.
We spoke to CSUN students about their experiences with e-cigarettes and where they stand on the possibility of regulations. Some agree, while others feel that taking access away will create more harm than good.
I think when you make something that's like flavorful, you're trying to reach a demographic, whether that be children or not. I mean, they're still trying to reach a certain demographic, by, making these flavors. So I would say in a way, yeah.
But I think that people that are already addicted to it, people that like taking that away, I think that's harmful instead of productive.
It's unclear when these restrictions are supposed to take place, but you can expect legal action to be taken against the FDA by big tobacco companies. Back to Savannah with the latest on entertainment.
Sandra Bullock has donated $100,000 to the Humane Society of Ventura County. The group says the donation will help provide care for animals evacuated from the fires. The Woolsey fire has burned through thousands of acres, making residents scramble to find safe shelters for their animals big and small. The Humane Society is helping find safe shelters from the fires.
The Woolsey fire has burned some celebrities' homes. Officials say Neil Young, Robin Thicke, Gerard Butler, and Miley Cyrus are among those whose houses were damaged or destroyed by the fires. Butler posted a selfie along with what was left of his home in Malibu. He also is writing thanking firefighters. Cyrus wrote on Twitter saying that her and her animals are safe. The pop singer says she is one of the lucky ones. The 5th annual Latin American Film Festival will be at CSUN this weekend, starting Friday evening through Sunday evening. Matador News reporter Ahmad Akkaoui is in Studio B with more information.
Thank you, Savannah. The 3-day event is sponsored by the CSUN College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, along with UNEM Los Angeles. I'm here with Samuel Douek, the festival programmer who put together the event. There are 6 films being shown representing different countries in Latin America. Tell us about your selection process.
Well, we go through all the films that are selected by their countries to represent them in the Oscars.
As a Latino, how does it feel to be a part of this festival?
It's a great opportunity because Latin America is now doing some of the best films in the world, and not many of them will arrive at cinemas in USA. So this is a great opportunity for people to come and check the films for free and watch them with English subtitles at an amazing cinema, which you guys have here at CSUN.
The films are in Spanish with English subtitles and will be shown on the first floor of Mazanita Hall. It is a free event, but space is limited, so tickets are only available on the Eventbrite page. Thank you for joining me, Samuel.
It's a pleasure. Hope you guys can make it to the film screenings.
Now let's go back to Savannah in the studio with more entertainment news.
Legendary writer, editor, and publisher of Marvel Comics Stan Lee passed away yesterday at the age of 95. Lee created iconic characters such as Spider-Man, Thor, Iron Man, Black Panther, the Fantastic Four, and X-Men, but that's just to name a few. Lee started his creation of comics and later turned into movies in 1939. Lee served time in the U.S. Army in early 1942 as a member of the Signal Corps, repairing telegraph poles and other communication equipment. In short clips, Lee was also featured in his films. Lee art directed and edited most of the Marvel series and newspaper strips. He signed off with his signature catchphrase, Excelsior. The new Toy Story teaser is out for the 4th installment. Favorite characters like Woody, Buzz Lightyear, and Jessie will all return to the big screen. Toy Story 4 will be the first Pixar release since the departure of Walt Disney Animation Studios' Chief Executive Officer John Lasseter, who is accused of unwanted hugging. The film is set to hit theaters June 21st. Michelle Obama's highly anticipated new memoir comes out today. The book is titled Becoming. It has sold the most pre-orders of an adult book since Harper Lee's Go Set a Watchman, which was published in 2015. Obama says the book is about her journey in life. She covers everything from taking risks to becoming the First Lady. Obama is on a book tour and comes to Los Angeles this Thursday. Now here's Matador News reporter Alexis Carfagno with today's weather.
Thanks, Savannah. It's 74 degrees out here in Northridge, and the Santa Ana winds are clearly back. They're helping to improve the air quality by pushing out the smoke from the Woolsey fire from the Los Angeles area and towards the oceans. The wind gusts are, however, very dry and very strong, so it can continue to spread the fire. The Woolsey fire containment is at 35%. The National Weather Service is continuing its red flag warning until tomorrow at 5 p.m. for the Los Angeles and Ventura County areas. The red flag warning will expire tonight at 5 p.m. for Malibu. The heavy wind gusts can cause difficulty in driving, so please take caution when out on the roads. Now back to you guys in the studio.
Comedian Dave Chappelle made a couple's engagement photo shoot extra special. Chappelle photobombed several photos that were taken in Yellow Springs, Ohio. The photographer says Chappelle was so nice and truly made their day.
Goodbye, and thank you for watching Matador News. I'm Jide Akinpelu.
I'm Savannah DiMarco.
I'm Cindy Gamino.
And I'm Christina Rodriguez.